Ethiopia has 20 million people, most of whom work on the land, all of whom depend on its wealth. Nature has been generous to the empire. Among the mountains are high plateaus and valleys with a climate unequaled in Africa. Ample rainfall and deep, rich soil provide great potential in crops. Still, the United Nations lists Ethiopians among the poorest fed people in the world. Most of those who work the land do not own it. The tenant farmer grows just enough to live on and a little more with which to barter. He has found, through generations of experience, that any surplus is claimed by the landlord, the church, or the state. Attempts to teach him modern methods are met with indifference. He is poor but seemingly content. In this feudal society, prestige is measured in acres of land and numbers of animals. The farmer prefers 2 weak cattle to 1 strong. This choice of quantity over quality is another factor impeding development. Farmers and their products are of great importance to the nation. Coffee, which constitutes half of Ethiopia's world export, grows wild in this land of its origin, the province of Kaffa. Only the jungle must be held back. A curious paradox, virtually every language in the world employs some variation of the word Kaffa to name this beverage. Here in the province of Kaffa, it is called Buna. An Ethiopian farm village looks like any other African village, but there is a difference: the assortment of people. The Abyssinian Plateau has been a crossroads of people and cultures of the Near East and Africa from time immemorial. Many of those who came stayed and were absorbed by the overwhelming country. Gala, Somali, Dankali, Shankela, Tigray, and Amhara. A total of 35 tribes and 70 languages. An ethnic museum of racial stocks, languages, and dialects. There has been little mixture among these groups. Loyalties remain to the tribe or family, or to the religious faith. Christians, Muslims, Jews, and pagans live together in isolated coexistence. The peasant sees himself not as a citizen of Ethiopia, but rather as a subject of the emperor. He is the nation's greatest unifying force. He touches the lives of all the people through an agency found in every part of the land, the official religion of the empire, the Ethiopian Coptic Church. Though a minority belief, the Coptic Church is the church of the ruling tribe, and as such has been the official state religion for more than 1,000 years, the keeper of morality, the recorder of both spiritual and temporal events for the empire. The Ethiopian Church is an early branch of the Christian Church, brought to the empire 330 years after Christ. Although its origins are Byzantine, long isolation from other branches of Christianity makes its evolution unique, incorporating as it does purely Judaic and pagan forms. The character of the church is monastic and meditative. Its religious calendar boasts 250 obligatory fast days annually for the faithful. The faithful number 1/3 of the Ethiopian people. Of these, 1 out of 4 dedicates his life to the church as priest or nun. Illuminated manuscripts and primitive icons reflect the role of the church as overseer of the flow of history, at times arbitrating it, at times influencing it, and always recording it. Through the centuries, the church has developed its temporal strength through support of the reigning political elite. In recent decades, this power has resided in the emperor, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, Emperor of Ethiopia, King of Kings. The rule of the emperor is absolute. His person and office are the object of fervent adoration and loyalty from his subjects. He receives the homage of the church, of which he is the ultimate administrator and judge. His powers include selection of the head of the church, and if desired, his removal, arrest, and trial. In return for its services to the court, the church has received 1/3 of the land in the empire tax-exempt. This is the source of its great temporal power. Most of the remaining land is controlled by the court and the nobles of the emperor's tribe, the Amharas. In the style of feudal Europe, the ruler is the source of land and power, and the ruler is served. The emperor has said in reference to his title, Defender of the Faith, the church is like a sword, and the government is like an arm. Therefore, the sword cannot cut by itself without the use of the arm. The emperor, the church, and the nobility constitute the power pyramid in the country. Though loyal to the emperor, church and nobility resist his proposals for modernization, finding any thought of change a threat to their traditional positions. The rest of the populace is a vast, dependent lower class.
በክርስቶስ ያምናሉ በኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ እናጠምቃቸው በኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ስልጣን በእኛ ሳልት በተሰቀለውና ስለኛ ብሎ መስዋዕት ሆነ በኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ስም
In the provinces, the priest not only guides the way to salvation, but also serves as an arm of the central government. In many instances, the imperial court has no other contact with its subjects. Priests labor in support of the monarchy, investing the ruler with the aura of God and preaching absolute obedience to his pronouncements.
በኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ሥራ ውስጥ ቀልድ የለም። አልቦ ፍርሃት ውስጥ ተፋቅሮ በክርስቶስ ፍቅር ውስጥ ፍርሃት የለም። ፍጹም የሆነች የክርስቶስ ፍቅር ፍርሃትን ከህሊናችን አስወግዳ ወደ ጥላታለች። የለም እንግዲህ ፍቅራን ልጆች እንደሆኑ
For many centuries, joining the priesthood has presented the provincial man with his best opportunity for advancement and escape from the arduous life of a farmer. Qualifications are few, since the major task may be the repetition of ancient and familiar dogma. Recently, the conservative clergy has been under pressure from modernists to change some of the ancient customs. Reluctance to change is demonstrated in the repetition of traditional themes and techniques in art, literature, and music. educational system of the church, the largest in the country, has also been under pressure to modernize. But the clergy is reluctant even to introduce writing to the peasants. It is felt that this skill endows one with the power of magic. Power and control, the Ethiopian Coptic Church remains impressive. Today, the neighbors come for a visit. This is a weekly event. A cup of coffee and some roasted barley. Talk is trivial. The crops are good this year, but the rain has come a little earlier than usual. Taxes may be discussed, but talk of politics is rare. Little is known of events beyond the village. There are no newspapers. Only 1 in 10 can read. They have no concept of being Ethiopian, or that this is the continent of Africa, or of anything beyond this one small fragment of the empire. Nor can they know that this moment in time must give way to change. Change that will surely disrupt their lives, and may or may not make them happier. If progress is on the way, it is slow in coming. In 1958, in a remote area, thousands of peasants died of starvation before help could arrive. And progress in the form of ideas, health, or educational facilities has been even slower. The farmer's real contact with the outside world is through his crops. His bag of coffee will make its way to world markets if it can survive the long journey that lies ahead. This man is fortunate. His farm is near a donkey trail that leads to a market. The trip is long and difficult, but he will be able to sell his produce. Each year, thousands of tons of beans rot on the bush in similar valleys. There is no point in harvesting them. They are too remote. There is no trail. The town at the end of the long journey is the outside world to the peasants of the region, the only part of the 20th century they will probably ever see. With a population of 10,000, this is one of Ethiopia's larger urban areas. It has administration buildings erected by the Italians 30 years ago. It also has a new clinic and a movie house, at the moment showing a Bob Hope film. town has a good airport serviced by Ethiopian Airlines. Planes provide the only means of transporting coffee from the south to the mill here at Jimma. The real significance of the town, what makes it the core of a huge region, is its position at the beginning of the road to Addis Ababa and to contact with the rest of the world. With the delivery of his coffee, the peasant's contact with the town and the empire ceases until another harvest. This mill is owned by a Greek. The other in the region is owned by an Arab. Foreigners own or operate most of the businesses in the country. Upper-class Ethiopians disdain engaging in commerce. An Amhara proverb says, "From cleverness of hand comes serfdom, from cleverness of mouth, master." Ethiopian coffee is rich and strong, but its grade is lowered by inconsistent growing and drying practices. A national coffee board is active throughout the country trying to improve the product. Before the coffee has any value, it must first reach world markets. The trucker who will transport these bags faces the empire's most important problems: travel and communication. The empire will fail or succeed depending on its ability to move goods and ideas. Ethiopia is triangular in shape, 500,000 square miles in area. Its size equals that of France, Germany, and Great Britain. But in this vast area is a population less than half that of France. Travel in the empire is no casual undertaking. A one-day trip on an American road might take 5 grueling days here. The best roads are of gravel, and the frequent mountains must be avoided in the heat of the day. When the Italians occupied the empire, they set about improving ancient roads and building new ones. Their program opened up many previously inaccessible regions, clearing the way for greater central control and unification. These people have been to market to sell a bag of barley. They are carrying home a piece of cloth to make a shawl. The trip has taken 1 week. The mountains are the home of the pagan god of travel. Because every journey is a lonely and dangerous undertaking, people of every faith make offerings to placate him. They know his vengeance. Virtually every means of transporting goods is used in the country. Camels, donkeys, mules, horses, and man are considered the most reliable carriers in all circumstances, especially where the terrain and weather vary as greatly as they do here. In terms of transportation, what might be thought a natural help is far more a hindrance. The rivers of Ethiopia are barriers rather than corridors. A placid stream too readily becomes a raging torrent. Nature uncontrolled. Her forces combine to create a land of startling beauty and great potential. The largest body of water in the empire is Lake Tana on the high northern plateau. 1,000 square miles in area, it serves as drainage basin, source of fish, and as transportation route for a huge area. The lake's main importance is its outflow, the Blue Nile. At Tisisat Falls, the Nile begins its course through Ethiopia, the Sudan, and Egypt, finally meeting the Mediterranean, 2,700 miles away. Through countless centuries, rain and river have gouged a valley as much as a mile deep and 3 miles wide, making the Nile unnavigable in Ethiopia and creating a barrier half the length of the country. Tons of fertile Ethiopian topsoil, the empire's most precious export, enrich the deserts of the Sudan and Egypt in the annual flooding of the Nile. Harvest completed, the workers return to their village for another year. They have touched the 20th century, but been untouched by it. They have seen the airplane and the machinery of the mill. They have ridden the truck. Now they return to their mud huts and revert to the traditional past. Near the center of the empire, the hills grow softer and the earth more fertile. Farms and villages become larger and more prosperous. This is Shoa province on the central plateau, the stronghold of the Amharas who rule the empire. In this empire, all roads lead to Addis Ababa, the capital of the country, the center of government, military power, and wealth. In comparison with the rest, this appears to be another country. The artist market is world famous, the largest in Africa. The city is the heart and brain center of the nation. All roads lead here. It takes its lifeblood from the labor of the peasants. Swelled by their goods and taxes, it radiates back ideas and control through church and army. African cities have always seemed exotic to travelers from Europe and America, but the arrival of modern elements provides an even more interesting dimension. The city serves as a meeting ground for the empire's divergent peoples and ideas. Christian and Muslim, Semite and Negro learn to tolerate traditional differences. This may prepare them for even greater changes now underway. In Addis Ababa, construction is the obvious sign of both modernization and foreign influence. The Italian invasion in 1936 brought the 20th century forcibly into Ethiopia. Since that time, the emperor has followed a policy of importing ideas and people to help his country make up for the lost centuries. The city is becoming the center of foreign diplomacy in Africa, and is the African base for many foreign business interests. As a neutralist nation, Ethiopia looks abroad in all directions. Building funds, building styles, and builders represent India, Yugoslavia, Russia, Sweden, the United States, and many others, especially Italy. When the Italian occupation ended in 1941, thousands of the former enemy remained to seek their fortunes in this potentially rich country. Theirs is the largest foreign population in the capital. Because of their road building and other achievements during the occupation, they are accepted by the Ethiopians and continue, as businessmen, their contribution to the empire.
Cominci adesso, va bene? Hai capito? Perché fai così? Hai capito? Adesso fai quella fascia qui, guarda lì. Guarda, passa di qua, muoviti, fai raccogli tu stasera più. Aspetta, dai, fai un po'. Prendi quella roba là, dai, fai raccogli, dai, capito?
The Italian invasion was a double-edged sword. While it broke a 3,000-year chain of independence, it also introduced Ethiopia to the 20th century and to the rest of the world.
Da mettere il cemento qua.
700 miles north of Addis Ababa is the port of Massawa on the Red Sea. In 1958, Ethiopia ceased being a landlocked nation when she acquired rights to this and another port, Assab, through federation with Eritrea. Suddenly, world traffic had direct access to the interior, and Ethiopia encouraged trade from every nation. Activities increased as the empire took advantage of the new facilities to export honey and grains, hides and coffee. For centuries, Massawa has been a gateway between Africa and the Middle East. It is, in fact, an Arab city on the African coast. An Italian colony from 1890 until the end of World War II, Eritrea became a trust territory under the United Nations. In 1958, the territory voted to become a part of the Ethiopian Empire. The choice was not unanimous. Powerful elements in the colony sought outright independence. Others would have preferred to continue ties with Italy, for under the Italians, Eritrea flourished. And in Asmara, capital of Eritrea, Italian presence has produced a gracious city much like those in southern Europe. Not only here is the Italian way of life much in evidence. Throughout the empire, the 5-year occupation is reflected in the continued use of the Italian language, popularity of the food, music, customs. International influence is greatest in Addis Ababa.
Mr. Clever will come my hair, won't he?
Young Amharas have felt most the effects of modernization. Under the emperor's post-war policies, many young people have been sent abroad to be educated. Upon their return, they have found themselves between two worlds, sophisticates in a backward country. While those who rule work to spread their culture throughout the empire, their own children are being transformed by a culture from abroad. In Ethiopia's social structure, young Amharas are expected to seek their careers in government when they return from abroad. Eager to try out new and advanced skills, they are discouraged by a shortage of jobs, and a system of employment and advancement depended on patronage rather than ability. As a result, there is an ever-increasing group of young people whose growing dissatisfaction may prove a threat to the present system. If innovation is causing conflict between new and old in the political sphere, the Amhara in his personal life maintains an easy stability. Perhaps among all Africans, he is best equipped to survive the shock of rapid change. He has a highly developed culture and natural reservations toward things foreign. This enables him to select what is useful to him of the new and to blend this with established tradition. Throughout Africa, nations are celebrating the new spirit of freedom and independence on their continent. Africa Day, the nation's newest holiday. Ethiopia was independent throughout the long period of African colonization, it has firmly identified itself with the new states. Sharing similar problems as an underdeveloped nation and with a long history of self-rule, the empire is striving to become a spokesman and mediator for the continent. Emperor Haile Selassie has, over the years, increasingly dedicated his reign to an influential role in world affairs. Since 1930, all of Ethiopia's policies, both foreign and domestic, have been formulated by this one man. During the phenomenal length of his reign, which spans a third of a century, he has seen the dissolution of empires and the emergence of Africa from the status of dark continent to independence and growing enlightenment. He will be remembered as the most powerful ruler in the empire's 3,000-year history. The world had forgotten Ethiopia until his dramatic appearance before the League of Nations. His appeal for help against the Italian invasion went unanswered. Many historians feel this inspired the Axis to begin World War II. His modernization policies at home have produced a new Ethiopian middle class. These people, ironically, have become his severest critics, accusing his regime of moving ahead too slowly. The emperor is living a dilemma. If his policies succeed, they must ultimately lead to the elimination of a strong throne and the feudal society that supports it. The political future of Ethiopia is indeed uncertain. The emperor has not indicated who will be his successor. According to Ethiopian tradition, his son is not guaranteed the throne. This problem and the rise of opponents to the monarchy forebode great difficulties after the death of the emperor. The attempted coup of 1960 failed, but has not been forgotten. Although the future is uncertain, the power of this aging monarch remains absolute. Ethiopia's celebration of African independence is not simply lip service to an ideal. Across the city, another ceremony is in progress, attesting to the empire's sincerity and its commitment to a stable continent. The corpses of Ethiopian soldiers killed in the Congo are returned to their families. The casualties and the anguish of their bereaved offer solemn testimony to the price the empire is willing to pay for a part in world affairs. In the Congo and earlier in Korea, Ethiopian troops fought under the UN flag. Traditionally isolated by a ring of Arab nations, the empire is still an island of Christianity in a sea of Islam. In this situation, Ethiopia has a vital interest in African and world stability. The peasant will never understand why his son had to die, untold miles from his village. He begins to understand that there is a price to be paid for progress. Change has threatened the peasant with each new influence. Each time he has been left to his fields unconcerned. His ancestors have tended their farms in this same way over the centuries. The days of his placid existence may at last be numbered. The passage of men and time have little altered the land, but its ruggedness no longer isolates the peasant in his valley, nor allows us to remain indifferent to his future. Today, men may come to tell the farmer how to improve his crops. He may not understand that they bring with them the seeds of change. Whether or not he understands, or cares, or chooses, the seeds will begin to take root here in this remote valley.